Right, so your mounted general is fully developed and ready to go. You've got your swag going on like a great Roman general getting ready to lead his troops into battle. But you need to make sure that you're geared up right before all the fun can begin. It's all good. We're going to take care of everything right now. Hi, and welcome to Red Evony. I am Akayasha. You can call me Aka, and this is Ares versus Achaemenidae Mounted Edition. So here's the drill. We're going to go through each piece of gear one at a time and look at the Ares and Achaemenidae options for each piece. We're going to base our decisions on the general type and relevant attributes. In this case, we're looking at a mounted attacking general and we're focusing on mounted stats. The priority order of the attributes we're going to be looking at are mounted troop attack, mounted troop HP, and then mounted troop defense. If after looking at these two attributes we have no clear winner, we'll put it on hold and come back to it later, at which time we'll look at other considerations to help us make our decision. So, if we're good with all of that, let's get to it. We start off with the weapon, and we're looking at the Ares Spear. In this case, we have mounted troop attack, marching mounted troop defense, marching mounted troop HP, and march speed to monsters. So, 3 relevant stats on this one. Let's look at the Achaemenidae piece. For the Achaemenidae Spear, we have mounted troop attack, enemy ground troop defense, enemy ground troop HP, and march speed to monsters. So, in this case, I think it is a clear winner for this one. We can go with the Ares Spear. So, we go back to our general and suit him up. Nice. Next, we'll look at the chest piece. We start off with the Courageous Ares armor. On this one, we have mounted troop attack, mounted troop defense, marching mounted troop HP, and ranged troop HP. So 3 relevant stats on this one. We look at the Fearless Ares armor. This one has ground troop defense and HP, enemy ranged troop attack, enemy siege machine attack. No relevant stats on this one. This one is gone. Next, we look at the Courageous Achaemenidae armor. This one has siege machine attack and defense, enemy siege machine attack, and enemy mounted troop defense. No relevant stats on this one. This one can go. Finally, we look at the Fearless Achaemenidae armor. This one has ground troop defense and HP, enemy mounted troop defense, in-city range troop attack. No relevant mounted stats on this one. This one is gone. So we are finally left with the Courageous Ares armor. So we go back to our general and suit him up. Next, we'll look at the boots. Now, the Courageous Ares boots have ground troop defense, siege machine HP, in-city siege machine attack, all troop load. No relevant stats on this one. We can get rid of this one. Next, we have the Fearless Ares boots. This one has ranged troop HP, mounted troop defense, marching mounted troop attack, and march speed. So, 2 relevant stats on this one. We put this one on ice for a second. Next, we look at the Courageous Achaemenidae boots. This one has ground troop defense, enemy siege machine attack, enemy mounted troop attack, in-city range troop attack. No relevant stats on this one. This one is gone. Finally, we look at the Fearless Achaemenidae boots. This one has ranged troop HP, mounted troop HP, enemy siege machine attack, and march speed. So, 1 relevant stat on this one. But comparing with the other boots, the Fearless Ares boots have 2 relevant stats, while the Fearless Achaemenidae boots has 1. So in this case, I think it's a clear choice. We go with the Fearless Ares. So we go back to our general and suit him up. Nice. 3 Ares pieces is all Ares at this point. Next, we move to the helmet. We start with the Courageous Ares helmet. This one has ground troop attack and HP, siege machine defense, in-city ground troop defense. No relevant stats on this one. This one is gone. Next, we have the Fearless Ares helmet. This one has ranged troop attack, mounted troop HP, siege machine attack, marching mounted troop HP. So, 2 relevant stats on this one. We can put this one on ice for a second. Next, we look at the Courageous Achaemenidae helmet. This one has mounted troop attack, enemy ground troop defense, enemy ground troop HP, in-city range troop attack. So, 1 relevant stat on this one. We'll put this one on hold for a second. Finally, we look at the Fearless Achaemenidae helmet, which has ground troop HP, mounted troop HP, enemy mounted troop attack, and in-city mounted troop attack. So one relevant stat on this one. And of course, since this is an attacking general, in-city stats don't matter. There's only one relevant stat on this one. Now we are faced with a rare situation where we have three pieces of gear that have at least one relevant stat for the general. And we need to trim this selection down a bit. So we look at the Achaemenidae options. The Fearless Achaemenidae has mounted troop HP, while the Courageous Achaemenidae has mounted troop attack. And as we said at the beginning, attack has priority over HP. So we would prioritize the Courageous Achaemenidae over the Fearless Achaemenidae. Now let's look at the Fearless Ares. The Fearless Ares has two relevant stats, while the Fearless Achaemenidae only has one. So we will prioritize the Fearless Ares helmet over the Fearless Achaemenidae helmet. We can trim our choices down to two options, and we can come back to these later and make a decision. Next, let's move on to the leg armor. For the Courageous Ares leg armor, we have Range Troop Defense, Mounted Troop HP, Siege Machine Attack, in-city Range Troop Defense. So one relevant stat on this one, we put this one on hold for a second. Next, we have the Fearless Ares leg armor, and here the attributes are Ground Troop HP, Mounted Troop Attack, Marching Ground Troop Defense, Marching Mounted Troop Defense. So two relevant stats on this one. Let's put this one on ice for a second. Next, we go to the Courageous Achaemenidae leg armor. This one has Range Troop Attack, Siege Machine HP, Enemy Mounted Troop Attack, in-city Range Troop Defense. No relevant stats for us on this one. This one is gone. Finally, we have the Fearless Achaemenidae leg armor. This one has Ground Troop HP, Siege Machine Attack, Enemy Range Troop Defense, Enemy Siege Machine Attack. No relevant stats on this one. This one is gone. We are now, again, left with another rare situation where the only two options available to us are both Ares options. So it's between the Courageous Ares leg armor and the Fearless Ares leg armor. However, in this case, since the Fearless Ares leg armor has two relevant stats, while the Courageous only has one, I think it's a clear decision. We go with the Fearless Ares leg armor. Now we come back to our general and suit him up. Nice. Next, let's look at the rings. For the Courageous Ares ring, we have Mounted Troop Defense, Siege Machine Attack, Enemy Range Troop Defense, Siege Machine Attack Range. So one relevant stat on this one, we put this one on hold for a second. Next, we go to the Fearless Ares ring. This one has Ground Troop Defense, Range Troop Attack, Enemy Mounted Troop Attack, March Size Capacity. No relevant stats on this one. This one can go. Next, we have the Courageous Achaemenidae ring. This one has Mounted Troop Defense, Siege Machine Attack, Enemy Range Troop Attack, Siege Machine Attack Range. So one relevant stat on this one, we put this one on ice for a second. Finally, we come to the Fearless Achaemenidae ring, and this one has Range Troop Defense and Attack, Enemy Ground Troop HP, Enemy Mounted Troop HP. No relevant stats on this one. This one is gone. And we are left with only two options between the Courageous Ares ring and the Courageous Achaemenidae ring. And if you look at both rings together, you will notice that their stats are very similar. The only difference to their stats is the range troop debuff. On the Ares piece, it is enemy range troop defense. On the Achaemenidae piece, it is enemy range troop attack. Now, we'll put these ones on hold for a second while we go back to have a second look at the helmet options. Earlier on, we narrowed down our selection to the Fearless Ares helmet and the Courageous Achaemenidae helmet. Under normal circumstances, the Fearless Ares helmet having two relevant stats would be the no-brainer in this situation, and we would go with that. However, though, we look at the stats on the Courageous Achaemenidae helmet. We have Mounted Troop Attack, which is obviously a high priority, but we also have two enemy ground troop debuffs, one for defense, one for HP. And as I'm sure you remember from the basic relationship between troop types, mounted troops will be killing ground troops. So any debuff that you can give to ground troops would be beneficial. In this case, the two debuffs that you get for one piece of gear is significant in my opinion. So we can end up with a situation where we have the fearless Ares for boss killing, and we have the courageous Achaemenidae for PvP. That kind of switch between the two pieces is something that would make sense. For now, let's go back to our general and put the Ares piece on him. Okay, good. Now we'll go back and have a look at the rings. It's between the courageous Ares ring and the courageous Achaemenidae ring. In terms of the debuff, the enemy range troop attack is the more important debuff to have. So, in that sense, we would prioritize having the courageous Achaemenidae ring over the Ares option. But as you can see on our general right here, everything is already Ares. So, if we go with the Ares option, not only would we be getting the one relevant attribute that it has, but we would also be completing the 6-piece set attribute for Ares. And in this case, that is march size capacity. That would be the added benefit we will get from adding the Ares ring to that setup. Having another look at our general, if we went with the Achaemenidae helmet instead, as we were suggesting might be the case when you're trying to go for PvP, then it changes the complexion of things a bit. Now, it would no longer make sense to take the Ares option because you would not be getting the set attributes for that anymore. And you can go and take the more valuable option that we said for the Achaemenidae and put that on. So in this case, you would have a setup that looks like this with 4 pieces of Ares and 2 pieces of Achaemenidae. However, there is still one last thing for us to consider. Now, going back to the scenario where we had the Fearless Ares helmet on, and as we said, in this case, it would make sense for us to have the Ares ring to complete the set attributes. But, however, we have a third option, and that is the Courageous Dragon ring. This is the ring that most people would have on their boss killing generals before they start considering Ares. And as you can see there, you have double item drop rate from monsters on this one, plus 28%. When you upgrade to Ares, this double item drop rate is gone. It's not on the Ares option. You would not have it again. So because of that, it makes some sense to stick with the Courageous Dragon ring when you're simply focusing on boss killing. Also, if you're not killing bosses that are incredibly strong and you need the extra power to be able to defeat them, having this ring on is definitely a viable option for you to increase your double drop rate. So you would end up with a situation like this, where you have 5 Ares pieces and 1 dragon ring. So in a nutshell, for a mounted general, we have 3 possible setups. Option A1, for boss killing, you have the full Ares setup. This would be everything Ares from the spear all the way to the ring. You have option A2 for bosses, which would be the 5-piece Ares setup with the dragon ring for double drops. And then finally, you can have option B, which would be your setup for PvP, where you have 4 Ares pieces and 2 Achaemenidae pieces. These are the 3 potential setups that you'll be looking at for your mounted general. Now, if you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a like. Maybe drop a comment down below on these 3 setups that we have provided here. The next round of Ares versus Achaemenidae will touch on another type of general, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Thank you, and Aka signing out.